Hello and welcome back to this coding challenge. In this case, you've had to write a Python program that checks if a given string, which we are storing right now or assigning to the variable s, starts with a given prefix. Right here, we are calling prefix just another string. It doesn't have to be a prefix in the grammatical sense. We want to match this pattern at the beginning of the string and see if that is true or not, if the string starts with that sequence of characters. Awesome, so let's start diving into our first option. Our first option uses string slicing, as you can see right here. And how are we using string slicing to check this? Well, we are taking the string and using string slicing, we are using the default value for the start parameter, because we are going to extract a slice of the string with the same length as the prefix. We're going to take the string, we're going to use string slicing to get a small portion of the string, and then we are going to compare that portion with the prefix that we have to match. And that is why we are using string slicing in the first place. Now, how are we using string slicing? We are using the default value for start. Why? Because we are going to start from index 0. We want to start adding characters from the beginning of the string. And then we are stopping at the length of the prefix. Why? Because we want to get a string, a slice, with the same length as the prefix. We don't want to get a slice that is shorter than the prefix or longer than the prefix. We want to get that exact number of characters so we can check if there is a match or a comparison between them. Let's analyze this example with indices so we can understand what is happening behind the scenes. Let's say that we have the string hello. Let's separate the characters like this, and let's write the indices 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We know that the length of the string hello is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's equal to 5. Okay, we know that the length of the string is 5, but we are interested actually in the length of the prefix. And what is the length of the prefix? The length of the prefix he is equal to 2. Let me write the two lengths right here so we can see them one after the other. What are we doing right here when we write this string slicing? Well, we are going to replace the value of the length of the prefix. And that value in this case is equal to 2. So we are getting a slice that is going to start from index 0 from the start, the very first character in the string, and it's going to continue until it reaches the index 2, without including that character. So the slice will actually contain these characters, H and E, at the indices 0 and 1. So this slice will return this right here, HE, this. And after that, we are going to compare that slice to the prefix. Is that slice equal to the prefix? Are all the characters equal? If that is the case, then we are going to print the value true. But if that is not the case, if the characters do not match exactly, then we are going to print the value false. In this case, it is true because hello starts with the prefix he. But let's check this and see how the program works. Let's save the file and run the code. We see the value true printed as the output because hello starts with the prefix he. Now let's test this with a different combination of the string and the prefix. For example, coding and con. Let's see if the string starts with this prefix. Let me remove these comments right here because now we are working with a different example. If we run the code, now we see false, because coding doesn't start with this particular sequence of characters. Let's analyze this example in detail. We have the string coding, C-O-D-I-N-G. Okay, and we also have their indices. Each character has an index. This string has 6 characters, so we reach index 5 and we start counting from 0. The length of the prefix is the length of con, right here. What is the length of this string? It is 3, okay, because it has 3 characters. we're going to replace that value right here to get the slice. The length of the prefix is equal to 3. So what are we doing right here? We're getting a slice of the string that starts from index 0, so from this character, and it moves forward, adding characters until it reaches index 3, without including it. So we will actually include the characters at indices 0, 1, and 2. We will get this slice, this portion of the string. This is what this part will evaluate to. COD. Let me add the comment below so we can see what is actually happening behind the scenes. We are going to compare COD to the prefix, which is CON. Behind the scenes, these values will be replaced and compared. When we compare them, they will not be a match. The value will not be true because the third letter is not equal, D and N. To print true, all the characters in the strings have to be equal. So the output is false. Let's save the file and run the code to see the output, and we see that it is false. So the program is working as we expected. Now let's test the special cases that we have to handle. For example, we said that the program had to be case sensitive. So if we check this prefix, this shouldn't be a match for the string because the C right here is in lowercase compared to this C that is in uppercase. Let's see what we get if we save the file and now we run the code to test if this prefix matches the string. We see false, and that is correct. Because now, instead of comparing this, we are comparing against this prefix, COD. We're still getting the same slice from the string right here. We're getting COD, the first 3 characters, because the prefix has 3 characters. But the prefix has a lowercase c, so we will not have a match with this uppercase c, and the result is false. Great, so now let's test another special case that we had in the instructions. What happens if the prefix is longer than the string? For example, let's say that we have the string Nora and we have the prefix circum. This prefix has more characters than the actual string, so it cannot possibly be a prefix for this string. But let's see how the code handles this scenario. What are we going to get? We are going to get this right here. Let me just replace this with the new values. Instead of coding, now we have the string Nora. So we have 4 characters. We reach index 3. Now the length of the prefix is the length of circum. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 characters, so the length is 6. And we're going to take a slice of the string that goes from 0 up to index 6. But actually, we don't have an index 6. We only reach index 3 in the string. But luckily, the way Python is implemented, we will not get an error. This will just return the string intact, Nora. And that is what we will be comparing to the prefix, Nora against circum, and that will clearly not be a match, so we will get the value false. If we run the code, we see the value false. And that is really awesome, right? Python is implemented in a way that when we have an expression that uses string slicing and one of the indices is out of range, we don't actually get an error. We just get a result that is already predefined in Python. If the end or stop parameter is out of range, then we just get the entire string, in this case. Awesome! So now you know how our first option works behind the scenes. So let's start diving into our second option that we have right here. Let me uncomment this and comment out our first option, so we can run the code. This option is recommended by the Python style guide. This one is not so recommended because it is a little bit perhaps more prone to having bugs because we have to work with indices and use string slicing. So that is why the Python developers developed and included a particular string method that we can use to check if a string starts with a given prefix. The method, intuitively, is called starts with. We just write the variable that contains the string, then we call the starts with method, and within parentheses we pass the prefix. And that will return true or false depending on whether the string starts with the prefix or not. Let's save the file and run the code so we can see the output. In this case, we see the value true, because hello starts with the prefix he. Now let's test if the result is case sensitive. This should not be a match for the string. If we run the code, we see that it is false, so the test is actually being conducted in a case-sensitive way. We are checking if the characters match exactly, and that is what we need. Let's test this with coding and con. Just one character is different in the prefix. We see that the result is false, so we didn't have a match, and that is what we expected. Now let's test what happens if the prefix has more characters than the actual string. The method should still handle that for the solution to be correct. And we see that it handles it correctly. We don't get an error, but we just get the value false. Because the string doesn't even start with the prefix, because the prefix is longer than the string. Awesome! Now you know how to implement this coding challenge in Python and how to solve this problem. Using string slicing is one way, but the recommended way to check for a prefix in a string in Python is to use the starts with method. This is recommended by the official Python style guide. So, if you ever have to check for a prefix, use this method. Awesome! So when you're ready, let's start working on the next coding challenge.